Welcome to the Rob Bro Show. I am Rob Bro. I am the host. You are the co-host. You can co-host today by commenting on the starting line chat line. Brought to you by Starting Line Counseling, startinglinecounseling.com.
You all right?
You have a fan on over there?
Do I?
Yeah.
Maybe it's my computer.
No, you're good.
Behind me.
I didn't hear that earlier when we were talking, and now it just feels like there's a fan on somewhere.
Yeah, it's been on. I don't know.
Anyways, the show is on today. It's a Wednesday. Welcome in to the stream. A couple of comments already. Let's go from the 23 Personnel Podcast. They drafted the Big 12 tournament foods from the Big 12 tournament. I will say this. They sound way better than last year. Of course, there's more teams. There's still the duds like the walking taco, which sounds good. But when you get a bunch of custom stuff and you just throw the walking taco, which you already have, that it comes in like the pre-made walking taco Doritos bag. Have you seen those? Like they do those at like high school events. Like that's nothing special. We're throwing walking tacos around. To do it at the Big 12 tournament, seems to me. But there's loaded tots with brisket and purple sour cream. I believe that's TCU. Purple sour cream throws some people off. It doesn't throw me off. It's just purple sour cream.
Yeah, I could care less what color it is.
There's burgers, Dr. Pepper glazed brisket sandwiches.
That's probably going to be a one of my favorites right there.
You can listen to the 23 Personnel Podcast at 23 Personnel on YouTube. Click over to the live section or, I guess, wherever you get your podcasts. That's where I listen to it. Roy Melton says, let's go. Brian Bradley, yo. So we're all owing here.
Family show. It's a family show, Rob.
That's my bad. But maybe we go through the the food items as well. We'll see. I'll have to go find them. I do think that we'll talk about it probably on the Gauchos as well tonight. I know Carson likes food as well. Big
foodie.
So maybe we shout those out at the end of the show. All right, let's get into Texas Tech basketball. Red Raiders winning last night. I commented that feels like, when it's not a nail biter, like you've had a ton of, it just doesn't seem as fresh of mind. I moved on immediately last night, won by 20. I didn't ponder over it for the next hour and a half. I didn't dwell on it. It wasn't like a big loss, right, that I'm sad about, that I'm agonizing over. It was a 20-point victory. You led by 20 basically from 10 minutes
jump
to the end. Oklahoma State sucked to start out. They sucked in the middle. They sucked at the end. And you just played better than them the whole game. I kind of thought you would pull away a little bit more at the end, but they kept it where it was, and you won by 17, and I texted you I wanted 20+. You didn't quite get that, but 17 is 17. And just another coast-to-coast victory. I think you're second in the Big 12 of, like, comfortable victories, and the other one was, Kansas, like we all thought it would.
Kansas, yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, just one of those games that you needed to do this. Like, you needed to go out there, assert the dominance, even though you don't have your most healthy squad, your best five on the floor, whatever you want to say, without Warren Washington. But you find a way to play really well in the first half, get a big lead, continue to get that big lead. And that's without Chance McMillan scoring in the first half, by the way. And then in the second half, Chance McMillan decides to pop in and add in a few. And plays really well in the second half. Every single one of his buckets came in the second half, and he ends up with 14 points. So good night for Chance McMillan off the bench. Pop Isaacs played well in the first half. I think he had, 16 in the first half?
Did Chance score all 14 in the second half?
Yeah, all 14 in the second half, yeah.
Yeah, and then Pop had double digits in the first half. I checked the box score at halftime.
Yeah.
12 maybe.
I think he had 12 or 14 at halftime, and then he ended up with 19. So, but I thought Darian Williams is Darian Williams doing his thing.
18, 9, and 5.
Yeah, it's just Darian Williams is almost averaging a double in Big 12 play. Which, if you would have told me that was going to happen before the season or before Big 12 play started, I would have said Texas Tech is going to be very successful. Darian Williams can be that guy.
Yeah.
And he's been that guy. And how about that for a sophomore, first year playing in the Big 12? It hasn't gotten to him.
Yeah.
He's been able to handle the grind, especially these last few weeks with Warren Washington being out. Like Darian Williams has had to take up some slack as well and be a bigger big than, and he's really more of a 3 or a really stretching it to get him to be a 4. So because he's more of a small forward. You can say he's a power forward at some level, but yeah, he's played really well, and he's been a big part of the reason that you're a 10-win Big 12 team. And we put that poll out last night and said, did you think that Texas Tech would be a 10-win team in the Big 12? Most people are saying no, and I agree with that. I would have been in the no category as well. So. It's credit to this coaching staff, credit to Darian Williams. I thought Pop Isaacs was good. He's even whenever he hasn't been good, he's been a player that you really can't take off the floor, even when he shot it poorly, because he just changes the game and he moves the ball, and he's such a talent that other teams have to account for him in all aspects.
I have a moderate confession. I still don't like some of his shots.
No, I agree.
Even when he's making them, that first 3 he made, like in the guy's eye, 30 feet out, plenty of time on the shot clock, early in a possession. It's like, what are you doing? Like, okay, you made it, great, and then he looks so confident driving to the rim. I want him to do that. I know you can't do it every possession, right. But him and Joe Toussaint seemingly have broken out of some of their funks. Now, I will say this. When there's 7,000-8,000 people at capacity, in Waco, or 16,000 Ames, Iowans, however many people fit in Hilton Coliseum, booing you every possession, that's got to be difficult. But when there's 6 people in the whole goddamn arena, historically empty Gallagher-Iba, 6 people, whatever it was, it's got to be a little freer to play. You know what I mean?
A little bit, yeah.
I think there's a lot of pressure to play in front of the home fans too, but maybe that speaks to what this team is going to be able to do in the tournament when, based on where you're going to be, maybe you have a little more of a home edge. Obviously, it's not going to be empty arenas in the NCAA tournament. There's going to be full pressure, but there's not going to be full student sections of people talking about your off-court issues or booing you every single possession. So,
yeah,
maybe that helps Pop Isaac shake off some of the rust he's had. He's certainly looked good this week. And Joe Toussaint, for what it's worth, I was really hard on for a couple of weeks. Tough on. But I think he's played really well in the last week and a half. And maybe last game against West Virginia was his best as a Red Raider. But if he can give you 8, 6, and 5, I mean, and that's 6 assists and 5 steals. If he can average around 10 points, around 6 assists, and more than 3 steals, 3 or more steals, I mean, that's going to be a really, really quality guard throughout the Big 12 and NCAA tournament, especially if Pop's getting around 20 because he's the scorer. And then Chance and Darian and hopefully Warren Washington are filling out the rest of the box score. But I think, beating West Virginia, how you beat West Virginia, coming back from a horrid start and beating them by 11. A lot of people haven't done that in Morgantown. And then, taking care of business against Oklahoma State by 20. That's 2 games in a row where you kind of look like you've shaken off some of that midseason doldrums, and maybe you're getting hot toward the tournament. Maybe you're getting on the right track now. You still have to play Baylor, and Baylor's the best team you've played in a week and a half. So we'll see how it finishes. But if you beat Baylor, you're on a real good streak to end the season here.
Yeah, and if you beat Baylor, then instead of a 7 seed or a 6 seed, and you win a couple in the Big 12 tournament, then you're looking at a 5 seed, especially if you finish in the top 4 or 3 of the Big 12. So you're looking at a 4 or 5 seed in that scenario if you can beat Baylor and then win a couple games in the Big 12 tournament, especially with that first round bye. So with that first round bye, I think that puts you into the semifinal, if not the championship game of the Big 12 tournament if you win 2 after that first round bye. So
you're still in the mix for a second round bye.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you still are. If you beat Baylor and a couple other things happen, you're still in the mix for a 2-round bye for sure.
No, less things than that have to happen.
So you just beat Baylor?
If you beat Baylor, I think you're the 3 seed.
Let me look at this.
Let's see. Texas Tech this is from Jackson Big 12, at Jackson Big 12, our friend Jackson Moody. Big shout out to Jackson. Follow him on Twitter. Texas Tech has clinched at least a 7 seed in Kansas City. Texas Tech will clinch a 6 seed if Kansas, BYU, and TCU don't all win out. Kansas won last night. Tech will clinch a 4 if Kansas and BYU each drop 1 or Tech beats Baylor. So automatic 4 if Tech beats Baylor. Tech will clinch a 3 if they win and one of KU or BYU wins out. So if Kansas wins out, wins on Saturday, BYU wins on Saturday, and Texas Tech beats Baylor, they'll jump in front and hold the tiebreaker over KU and BYU. So if Baylor wins, they're the 3, and then you would need a loss, I guess, to get the 4. But if you beat Baylor, you're the 3.
I don't think Kansas is going to beat Houston. So
and Kansas has to play Houston, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you beat Baylor, you're both 11-7 in conference play,
and you
split. So I don't know how that does it go down to differential in those 2 games. How does that work? That's where I would get confused.
Yeah, there's a lot of Big 12 tiebreaker stuff. I would assume even if you beat Baylor and you split Baylor home and home, I would assume it's I don't know. Point differential in the 2 games or point
just beat Baylor. Just beat Baylor at home, and then we'll figure out the rest.
If you beat Baylor at home, I think you have at least a 4 seed. That's what I'm saying. If it's 3 or 4, you're still in a bye situation for 2 games,
right?
And then I really don't think you have to win any, because that's like winning 2 Big 12 tournament games. I just don't think you have to win any in the Big 12 tournament. If you beat Baylor and finish 11-7, I really do think you've qualified for a 6 seed.
At least, yeah.
Now, maybe if you go win the Big 12 tournament, something crazy happens and you really get on a hot streak, you might get up to a 5. But I don't see you jumping like to a 4. I don't see a world where
I think the ceiling for them is you win the Big 12 tournament, you're a 4 seed. Like that's the ceiling.
You think?
But I think that's the highest they would be seeded. I'm not saying if they win the Big 12 tournament, they'll be a 4 seed. Even if they win the Big 12 tournament, they could very easily be a 5 seed. I think it's a lock for a 5, but you could see them get a 4 if other things were to happen in other tournaments and all these things. But they're saying Kansas is still on the 3 seed line or 4 seed line, and Kansas doesn't even have a chance to be in the top. Like they got a chance to be in the top 4 at the very end of things, but I don't see Kansas beating Houston in Houston on Saturday. That's just not
I will say, in the bracket matrix world, Baylor has jumped Kansas.
Fair enough.
So Baylor is now the number 1 3 seed ahead of Kansas. Iowa State, the last number 2 seed. Houston, the 3rd number 1 seed. That's in the bracket matrix. Texas Tech still holding on the 7 line. Really have moved back on the 7 line. Texas on the 8 line, TCU on the 9 line, Oklahoma on the 9 line. Nebraska old Big 12 foe on the 10 line. They might make the tournament with Fred Hoiberg. By the way, how many wins does Nebraska have all time in the NCAA tournament?
All time? Phew, that's a tough one. I have no idea. 2.
Less.
1?
Less.
None?
They've never
Nebraska's
won.
never won a tournament game?
Ever.
Wow.
Slimson
They
says
didn't-
best
they-
record against common opponents starting at the top of the Big 12 standings is the second two-team tiebreaker in which Baylor owns because they beat Iowa State. So if you beat Baylor, I think you confirm a 4 seed, I guess. But still, that's 2 buys in the Big 12 tournament, and then you're looking at a very minimal effort to get into, and against a team you've probably competed well with. So,
right.
Because you're not playing Iowa State, you're not playing Houston in that round.
And you wouldn't have to play Baylor in that round.
Now, maybe you get Kansas again.
Kansas will lose before that.
You beat by 30, but Kevin McCullough will be playing this time. Is what it is. All right. College basketball has been solid this year. There are people saying it's a down product. Dan Wolken wants you to believe it's a down product.
I
And
don't
we haven't talked
understand
about that guy in forever.
No.
We used to hammer that guy on the road.
He wrote that article because he's such a loser and he needs people to be talking about him.
He wrote like
Wolken's a loser.
A 15 article thread of how bad college sports is. Why?
We used to dog him on our show every single day.
A lot of people hate their jobs. Right? Like a lot of plumbers wake up in the morning and they're like, I got to go dig through piles of crap today. Now, a lot of plumbers love their jobs because they're human beings that want to work for a living and make good money. But some guys waking up and like, I got to go to 7-Eleven again and deal with all these crackheads coming into my store, right? Dan Wolken gets to go to any college sporting event he wants to, probably any professional sport he wants to. He's living the dream. He writes about sports for a living, and he hates his life and job.
The guy, he's just a miserable human being.
Pull the stick out, Dan.
Yeah.
All right.
I think he lives to write pieces like he did in the USA Today and just see what kind of rise he can get out of people. Yeah. And he knows he's wrong, but he's just a moron.
I don't think he does. I don't think he knows.
He has to know. Like, college basketball is not in a worse place than it was 10 years ago. I think college basketball has, and maybe it's because here in Lubbock, college basketball is better than it was 10 years ago. Maybe that's why I think this.
That's true.
But I also think that you're playing in NFL football stadiums in the Final Four, and you're getting 95,000 people to come to a Final Four. That doesn't tell me that college basketball is in a bad place, right? That tells me that college basketball is in a fantastic place. I mean, we went to the Final Four with Texas Tech in Minnesota, and I'll tell you what, it's one of the best. It was an electric atmosphere, man. Like, it was electric in there. The whole town was electric. And that's where 4 teams were. 4 teams. But it's like the mecca of college basketball fans coming together. And then you have, Texas Tech fans were gung-ho. And maybe you just felt it was awesome because Texas Tech was in a Final Four. We're in a national championship. Like, that was one of the best weekends of my life. I'm not gonna lie. I shed some tears watching Texas Tech get announced on the floor in Minnesota. Like, that's how college sports.
I didn't read the Dan Wolken article, so I don't know his points.
He's a loser.
We can move on.
He's a loser.
The Big 12 tournament, by the way, Shaq will be there. Shout out Shaq.
Little DJ action.
Breland. You familiar?
Yeah.
I'm not.
Country music, a little bit country music, yeah.
Is he? Heartbreaking Alcohol coming 2/16. That's what it says on his Twitter bio. Laney Gardner. Familiar?
No.
WWE title belts for the most outstanding player. MOP really threw me for a loop there. Charlie Hustle will be there in some capacity. Shout out Charlie Hustle.
Breland is like country hip hop put together. Is what he is.
All
Yeah,
right.
I knew that was true.
The Big 12 in Times Square, even though the Kansas City is hosting the tournament. Planet Comic-Con will be at the Big 12 tournament.
Kansas City is a fantastic place to host a tournament, by the way.
And then you have the Big 12 Eats.
Perfect town. Kansas City is a perfect spot.
All right, I want to go through these Big 12 Eats here since the tournament will start next week. There is a foot-long Big 12 dog. A foot-long all-beef hot dog with ketchup, mustard, red cabbage slaw, black sesame seeds, white onion, diced white onion, spicy cheese sauce, which just looks like Rico's
Yeah, cheese sauce.
and
Cheese whiz on the hot dog.
sauteed orange peppers.
Nope.
You missed me with that. Baylor brisket sliders, the Dr. Pepper glazed brisket with a sweet salami brioche bun. Okay. Mini churros. That's the BYU Cosmo churros, caramel-filled churros topped with sweet cream drizzle. The toffee crumble. Citronaut float, what looks like an orange Julius.
I could get down on that. Little afternoon orange Julius would make it refreshing.
We got a Cincinnati style chili dog.
See, they should have gone with Skyline like chili.
It's
right?
Skyline chili on a hot dog.
On a hot dog, right? Yeah. But of course, I wouldn't eat it because it has beans.
Does it?
Skyline chili has beans. I'm pretty sure.
I'm not anti-bean in chili.
It's un-American. I know you're not. We have this argument all the time.
We have Shasta's brisket tacos. Houston. More corn salsa than brisket, it looks like in the picture.
It's what it looks like in the picture.
The walking taco with a mound of sour cream and lots of lettuce. Again, I told you about that.
Yeah.
Prepackaged walking taco thing. I think that's lazy.
It's just a bag of Doritos with taco meat and lettuce, cheese, and sour cream thrown on top.
Green chili pork.
You can get that at any high school football game in the state
of
Texas.
It's leveled up with the green chili pork, but it's still, and it's Iowa State.
You go to some small towns in South Texas, and they'll have way better things to put on your in-bag nachos.
Loaded mac and cheese with brisket. That's for Kansas. The Power Cat fried PB&J. It looks like Uncrustable fried.
But a fried PB&J. See, I'd probably hammer one of those as well.
We've got
I love a PB&J.
OU burger has fried onions on top, barbecue.
Yeah, definitely would hit that.
Orange Power pizza. So stupid.
What are they putting on there?
Pepperoni, sausage, ham, sweet pepper, bacon, mozzarella, and cheddar cheese with a ranch drizzle.
What's orange about it, though?
Oklahoma State. I don't know. And then you have the purple sour cream.
Cowtown loaded tots.
The Big Bertha loaded baked potato. I would hammer this. Love a loaded baked potato.
Yep. Chopped house, smoked brisket, cheddar cheese, green onion, sour cream. Yep, I'm in it. I'm in that. I'm winning that all day.
Then you have the Mass Rider burger. It's the same as the OU burger, except it has jalapenos and big onion rings instead of onion strings.
Yeah, that's a good burger right there too. You throw an onion ring or onion strings on a burger with a little bit of like sweet barbecue sauce. Yeah. I'm hammering that.
Going pepperoni roll for West Virginia.
I didn't know those were a thing in West Virginia. I guess they are.
Oh yeah, that's the national food, the state food.
Well, the Double Dave's pepperoni roll is bomb. So
we've got a rest in peace Wabash Cannon dog. Do you remember the Wabash Cannon dog from last year?
Yes.
It looked like
Didn't you try that at the Big 12 baseball tournament?
No, I didn't go. I didn't go to the Big 12 baseball tournament.
Oh.
The bacon in the picture, in the photo. You know, the photo is supposed to be like you see a picture of a Big Mac. It's like
never looks the same when you get it.
professionally done online,
Yeah.
and it's like stacked perfect. The middle bread's not crushed. Lettuce is perfectly on. Sauce is kind of drizzling out. The Cannon Dog photo, the bacon wasn't done. It looked like, I'm not gonna say what it looked like. I'm not gonna say it looked like you feel with the man. It was kind of it shades of Philistine is all I'll say. What else? What else?
It looked
I guess the basketball
bad, Landon said. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it, Landon.
Anything
looked
else in the basketball
bad.
world?
No.
Okay.
Duke and North Carolina play this weekend. Does anybody care? No.
Is that still a big thing for you?
What, Duke, North Carolina?
That used to be big. At the risk of going full Dan Wilken here, second mention on the show for him, I really don't care. There's like the major, and it wasn't Coach K for me. I guess maybe it was just Coach K.
It was Coach K for me.
Like the players, Hanspard, Reddick, Sheldon Williams,
Jay Williams,
Elton Brand.
Ooh, Luke May,
Shane Battier, Carlos
Kerwin Walton.
I can name Duke players. I don't know how deep I can go with North Carolina. Anyways, it just
Michael Jordan.
Yeah, seemed like it used to be a bigger deal there. Yeah, James Worthy. We go way back.
Christian Leitner.
Never Nervous Purvis.
Who was your most hated Duke Blue Devil though of all time?
Kenny Williams. Well, I loved Duke in junior high and high school.
Oh, I hated Duke. I've hated Duke I was a big North Carolina guy whenever I was younger. North Carolina and Cincinnati and LSU. Like those are my three, other than Texas Tech, obviously, since I grew up in the athletic office. Yeah. But North Carolina, LSU, and Cincinnati, like especially Cincinnati basketball, Kenyon Martin and Bobby Huggins and all those guys. That was fun to watch.
Growing up, my granddad's across the street neighbor went to play basketball at Duke from Lovington.
Okay.
So
there you go.
He liked Duke. I liked
So you had a reason for liking the Blue Devils. Fair enough. Yeah. I hated
that kid's name. I could probably look it up. I don't know. Zabowski.
Closet New Mexico basketball fan. New Mexico used, I mean, and obviously, here's another thing. College basketball is a great sport because of the venues around the country, right? Like, that's what makes college basketball great.
Why are you going full politics?
I don't know. Because this is a political stance. New Mexico has one of the best college basketball arenas in the entire country. One of the best atmospheres in the entire country. New Mexico, I remember going there whenever I was a kid.
Yeah.
And Texas Tech played New Mexico. It was packed. It's loud. I mean, the seats are like this. I mean, like straight up and down. It's like a 90-degree. You got to walk up and down them. Luckily for us, we went in the tunnel and you can take the elevator. But still, New Mexico, one of my favorite arenas in college basketball out there. And great atmosphere.
The opposite for the baseball fields in Albuquerque, and I think we can say
Good
that.
Segue.
Actually. I will say this: Texas Tech now 19-16 against New Mexico in Albuquerque. Quit playing there.
It's a tough place to play.
Quit playing there. You're like 40-12 at home.
Well, and you always play them in the midweek. And so the midweek is always going to be a rough go, especially when you're on the road and you're bussing. They didn't fly. They bussed to Albuquerque, 6 hours.
Yeah. Day of, probably.
Stop playing in Albuquerque.
The
weather sucks.
Playing in Albuquerque.
The wind always blows 500 miles an hour this time of year.
In between the
Sandia Peaks.
That being said, you took a 7-run lead. They tied it up. They took a lead 8-7. And then a pinch hit double bases loaded from Dylan Maxey, scored all three. Damian Bravo was on the bases because he got hit in the back foot. Caden McGee was on the bases. Gavin Cash was on the bases. Travis Sanders then reached on the next at bat by a fielding error, which scored Dylan Maxey in the sixth. No one else scored in the game. 11-8, the final. Gavin Cash, leadoff hitter extraordinaire, leadoff home run. And we talked about it. He's not going to go out there and
you put him there.
He's not going to go out there and see a bunch of pitches. But if they throw him a strike, he might just put one over the outfield fence, especially at home and, well, in Albuquerque. So, Gavin Cash, leadoff hitter. I wouldn't have expected it before the season, but certainly not upset with it now. Leadoff homer in the first. Travis Sander, RBI single in the first. TJ Poppy, RBI single in the first. Another 2 runs.
You put up a 5 spot first.
2 in the second to get that 7-run lead. And then they score 4 in the second, 3 in the third, 1 in the fifth. And I don't think you got out Kincaid until a pivotal moment late in the game when he
went 2 for 5.
Well, he went 2. Who was on to? Oh, Dixon, maybe it's who I was talking about. He was 3 for 4, and then
Yeah, Dixon, shortstop. Yeah.
That's who I was thinking of. Tabor Fast, 2 1/3. Fast hook. Not a great outing. Derek Bridges. Not a good outing. You need Derek Bridges to be better. The senior from Duncan, he was really good as a sophomore, I think.
Yeah.
Last year struggling. Didn't pitch the first month of the season. Looked good in a couple games, but didn't pitch much. You really need to get him back to what he was as a sophomore, or else he's just not going to be a pivotal pitcher across the rest of Big 12 play. He doesn't have the juice or something because he's not pitched well, particularly well this year, and last year kind of stacking up you are who you are here at some point.
Yeah, you need him to be one of the guys that you can count on out of the bullpen. Especially as you get deeper and deeper into conference play. You play these midweeks, and you got Stanford on the midweek. You've got to go to Arkansas on a midweek. So a guy like a Derek Bridges is going to have to help you in some regard, whether that be in conference play out of the bullpen or in midweek play out of the bullpen, because you're talking about 2 really good RPI opportunities on the midweeks right there in just those 2 series. That's not even bringing up UTRGV, who is probably not going to be terrible in the WAC this year either. They've been a team who's done some damage to really good teams in the midweeks. So you've got to have these guys who you can count on in the midweek to not lose. Now, listen, I've always been the proponent of I could care less about what happens in the midweek. Like it's just to play a game.
Yeah.
Especially whenever you're playing at New Mexico on a Tuesday, right before you get to play Texas at home to start conference play. Like I could have cared less what happened yesterday. I couldn't have cared less what happened yesterday. But you get a win. Wins are wins in the midweek. Doesn't matter what it looks like.
Yeah.
To me,
period.
Yeah, a midweek's a great time for a guy like a Derek Bridges, though, to set himself right, right, and Tabor Fast too, to show that he can be a part of what you want to do on the weekends. But right now, neither one of those 2 guys look that part. And then because it's such a close game, you have to throw Zane Petty, Jacob Rogers, Ryan Free, and Trendon Parrish, who all need innings. Like that's a good time for them to get innings moving into the weekend. But you would love to throw some of your other dudes who you haven't gotten to see a ton of and see what they can do in the midweek. So maybe they can show what they can do and put guys down and not walk guys and be in the strike zone and throw a couple pitches and all these things. But if it goes this way where you don't pitch well, the first 2 guys don't pitch well, then you're going to have to bring in some of the guys that pitch well on your weekends, and then you're burning through some of that too. Now, don't get me wrong. Wednesday, Thursday, you got Wednesday, Thursday to rest up, and then
Tuesday.
they're throwing an inning. Yeah. So it's not like they're throwing 3 innings. I mean, Jacob Rogers went 2 innings, but he's a long relief guy.
Well, but 2 innings and he pitched. Let's go back to it. He pitched 37 pitches. I didn't think he pitched that many pitches.
Yeah, he threw 37 pitches, and then you go with how many you throw in the bullpen. So you probably threw 80 pitches combined. But it is what it is.
That's good Jacob Rogers. We've seen good Jacob Rogers and bad Jacob Rogers. Good Jacob Rogers.
Good Jacob Rogers, 1 hit. He only walked 1, struck out 3. So I'll take that Jacob Rogers all day.
And he's got some nasty wipeout stuff.
Yeah.
He just
he throws a good heavy fastball.
He also hangs stuff quite a bit if he's not careful. But hey, if good Jacob Rogers can come out of the bullpen, you're really excited about him in spots, because even as a starter, he has been incredible, I would say. First time through the lineup. Now, second time, third time, that's a different story so far. But you also, early in the season, with not much competition, you need leverage innings for Trendon Parrish. You need leverage innings for Ryan Free. Yeah. So let's take a small lead here in Albuquerque in a notorious offensive park and get some leverage innings for Ryan Free and Trendon Parrish, both of whom could be your closers in Big 12 play. I think that's a good afternoon. Did you like to see an 8-7 deficit in the 6th? No. But you also won the game, and Dylan Maxey had a pinch hit double clearing the bases. That's also a pretty leverage at bat for a guy you really need, especially if Kevin Bizzell is going to take some time here.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and Maxey's going to have to fill that void. So, happy for him. Big 6th inning. You needed it. And then the pitching staff locked down in the final. I mean, look, you only had 2 rough innings. The 2nd and the 3rd were the rough innings for Tabor Fast and for Derek Bridges. Like, those are the rough innings. You gave up a run in the 5th. You're going to give up a run here and now, especially with guys out of the bullpen. And you said it, in a good ballpark for offense, Hitters Park there in Albuquerque. The wind blows straight out every single day. But to put up 4 runs in the 6th and then throw up zeros the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, that's huge, especially for the guys that you threw out there, because you're right. You do need like high intensity, big moment innings for those guys that came in and threw. And I thought they threw well. And now you'll get a chance to play a Texas team who's been struggling this weekend, and you'll see what you're made of a little bit early on here in Big 12 slate. So I think especially for a guy like Trendon Parrish, for Jacob Rogers, for Free, those are good innings for those guys to get. And now, because you're going to have those guys throw big innings against the Texas, against the TCU late here in the middle of the Big 12 slate. So, it's a good midweek, good tune-up for what you're going to get on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And like I said, Texas is struggling coming in, so they're going to be a little bit hungry. They're going to be a little bit pissed off, and we'll see what you can do on the mound. That's where it comes down to winning. Is going to be on the mound, and hopefully this offense can continue to put up the run support that the pitching staff needs.
A week ago, we were talking about 7-1 Texas, and they were number 2 in the Big 12. Pitching staff looked elite, finally, there for David Pierce. Today, just a week later, 12-0 Texas A&M beat them 9-2 last night, stretching their losing streak to 4. They only had 6 hits. They didn't look very aggressive at all. This is at Dish Falk. They're now 7-5, and I would still say they're a top team in the Big 12, but they're not coming into Lubbock as big bad beasts, in my opinion. I will talk again on Friday as we have Chase on the program talking a little track and field too, so I don't want to get too much into it, but you just start looking around the Big 12. Oklahoma State 7-5. They lost to a team called Utah Tech, who has a cat as their logo. 9-8, and they used to be called Dixie State. So I guess if you've heard of them, they're in the WAC. They're in the Western Athletic Conference. Whack baseball, I guess, is something I'm not familiar with. I've never heard of Utah Tech. They're 2-11. They beat Oklahoma State 9-8 at O'Brate.
At Kelly O'Brate Stadium. Yeah.
Oklahoma hosting a game against Wichita State. They beat them 5-3. Houston wins again to go to 8-4. They beat Sam Houston, who's a pretty good team. Dallas Baptist 11-1. They're really good. They beat Baylor last night. BYU beating a 9-3 UNLV team, who has already started Mountain West play somehow. They're 2-1 in Mountain West play. I guess Texas Tech starting Big 12 play this weekend, so it's not too crazy. Tennessee hammered Kansas State. Tennessee will do that to teams. TCU blanks Abilene Christian 4-0. Another great pitching performance from TCU. And then you have Texas Tech beating New Mexico. I do want to look at TCU real quick. They are 2-0 in quad 1 games, 3-0 in quad 2 games, 7-0 in quad 3 games, 1-0 in quad 4 games. They're up to 7th in the RPI, which again doesn't matter until late April.
Matters.
Late April. I mean, you have to have enough games in the you don't have enough data points yet for RPI to matter, in my opinion. But 12-0 is 12-0. And they start Big 12 this weekend at Kansas. So Kansas 7-4. They run-ruled Texas Southern a couple of times. Not quite like you did, but certainly not bad.
I think TCU will sweep Kansas this weekend.
They should. They should. I certainly think they should. But I wanted to say, 7 quad 3 games, undefeated in quad 1 and quad 2. I just wanted to compare that to Texas Tech's schedule so far. Texas Tech is 1-1 in quad 1, 0-1 in quad 2. I would assume no, Tennessee is a quad 2 game currently. So that's another thing. Like RPI is RPI. It's what it is. Oregon State is the quad 1 loss. And then 2-0 and 7-0 in quad 4. So you've had 7 quad 4 games. And that's not going to change. Those teams
that's not good.
Quad 4.
Those teams are bad. Yeah. And speaking of Tennessee, Kansas State, everybody talked about Kansas State before the year, how Kansas State had made a jump. They're supposed to make a jump this year. Kansas State has not yet shown that they're a good baseball club.
No.
Freshman Dean Curley hits 3 bombs last night for Tennessee. Tennessee's a very talented ball club. I think Tennessee will end up being a quad 1 team by the end of the season. For Texas Tech, that'll help their RPI. But the SEC is a tough slate for anybody. Tennessee's one of the top teams though in the SEC. So yeah, Kansas State hasn't surprised me. Texas a little bit surprised about last weekend for the Longhorns. I thought they would win 2 out of the 3. I didn't think they'd beat LSU, but I think they'd win. I thought they'd beat Texas State and beat Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Well, they were up just because 11-4 on Vanderbilt.
Yeah, and just because I thought Texas could pitch it better than Vanderbilt. Vandy doesn't have as good pitching as they have had in the past. So yeah, and then I did not see Texas A&M's a good team this year. I mean, Jace Lavallette's one of the best players in the SEC. He's got a good chance to be a Golden Spikes guy. Texas A&M pitches it well. Obviously, we all know what Jim Schlossnagle does. He's always been a great coach. He's always been good everywhere he's been at TCU, at Texas A&M now. But I did not expect Texas just to get boat raced by A&M last night. Not mad about it, but
yeah. In the starting line chat line, Zone Cardenas says, "Sup, y'all? Sup?" Dallin Olson says, "Who's your coach of the year and what?" Big 12
which
basketball.
sport?
Big 12 basketball. I would say Otzelberger. Currently.
Yeah, TJ Otzelberger. Yeah, I mean Grant Mack's not too far behind him, but TJ Otzelberger's done a fantastic job at Iowa State this year, especially.
They're going to finish second,
especially after the year they had last year. Yeah, I mean they were sub 500 last year in Big 12 play. Like people wanted TJ Otzelberger's job.
They were 7-11 when they went to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
So,
good point.
did you see the Cavs Celtics game last night? I know we don't talk a lot of NBA here, but did you see it?
I saw that the Cavs came back.
Did you see who led the comeback?
No.
Dean Wade.
Dean Wade, the old Kansas State guy.
From like 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter to 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Chalk
He
one up
had
to the white
18
guys.
points himself.
Wow.
18
Chalk
points
one up to the white guys.
And they scored
Nice.
They scored 34 in the fourth quarter, and the Celtics scored 17.
Dean Wade.
To win 105-104. And Dean Wade was doing it to him. Do you
know
know who else?
Baby.
Do you know who else hit a three in that time on the Cavs? Georges Niang. Do you remember him from Iowa State? Speaking of Iowa State.
Yeah. George Niang, yeah.
And Jared Allen is also on that team. So I got some Big 12 talent there. Jared Allen led scoring with 21. Oh, Dean Wade had 23.
Nice. Good
Of course,
for those
I think
guys.
at least 21 of those in the fourth quarter. Yeah, glue guy. Lunch pail, hard worker, grit.
Dean Wade was fun to watch. Hated whenever he played Texas Tech because you really didn't do much with him. But
yeah, that was the 2014 Co-Big 12s of the year.
Yeah.
Jarrett Culver and Dean Wade.
Dean Wade. Yep.
I don't know if Dean Wade was the player of the year that year, but they were really good. That's when Kansas State won the Big 12 with Texas Tech.
Yeah.
So,
Cavs 2014. I think it was later in 2014.
Oh, no. It was 2019.
2019. The 18-19 season.
Yeah. They went 14-4.
Yeah.
That's what 14 was.
Yeah.
Decade ago.
This season right here. Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
right
19.
There. The old Final Four season. Yeah.
It was 17-18 was the Elite Eight, and 18-19 was the.
Yeah.
Anyways. All right. There's an oft-injured All-Pro Hall of Fame level left tackle leaving a team and going to a new team. The Dallas Cowboys letting go, I don't know.
Not re-signing.
It feels familiar to when DeMarcus Ware went to the Broncos. Let me say this. In sports, every once in a while you get a team. The Golden State Warriors were this team in the NBA. The Lakers have been this team in the NBA before. You think back to some of Kobe's years where you have Karl Malone on the Lakers at the very end trying to win a championship. A bunch of older players kind of finishing their careers with a hot young star. Ring chasers, you call them. Kevin Durant goes and chases a ring. David West goes and chases a ring. Lots of old veteran players. I don't know why I said those two names in the same sentence, but those are the two I thought of. Now you have Tyron Smith with the opportunity to either go make one last big contract somewhere or to chase a ring and take less money. And there's only one natural place he can do it, in my opinion. That is with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs have done really well without going out and signing a bunch of veterans. But I think this year, with their cap space, they are in an incredible position to go get a veteran wide receiver ring chaser and Tyron Smith, who played 14 games last year, but missed. I think he played 10 games the previous two seasons combined and then played 14 last year. But when healthy has been very good, better than the tackles they've had. And he can play both sides. He could come in and just be a right tackle. He played right tackle at USC, came into the league, got switched over to left tackle, could finish his career as the right tackle, played some right tackle a couple of years ago when Terrence Steele was hurt. I guess that was last year maybe. Came back as a right tackle to finish the season. It would be an incredible signing for the Chiefs. And maybe that style of offense is a little more sustainable where you're not having to grind it out in the rushing attack as much and just get to play some pass pro.
Some pass pro. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I led that question into you when you mentioned it before the show, before we came on, and really it makes sense for him to end up in Kansas City. And if you're on your way out the door, which is where he's at in his career, other than more so than into his career, like in the middle of it, he's at the tail end of his career. Why not go to somewhere where you have a great opportunity to win the Super Bowl ring that you've coveted and wanted every player wants whenever they come into the league? So, I think that it makes a lot of sense for him to go to Kansas City. I think that it would also make a lot of sense for him to end up in somewhere like a Miami or somewhere like that, where there's a lot of pass pro there too. So we'll see. I think the Chiefs would be very smart to go after him. I don't know that. I mean, do you look at does he require the same amount of money now that he required 4 or 5 years ago whenever the Cowboys signed him to that big contract?
Well, required or demand?
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah,
he certainly demanded it market value in the moment, but I don't know that
But he's been so injury prone and so hurt and he hasn't played a full season up until. I mean, he didn't even play a full season this last year. He played 14 games.
And again, he came into the league really young, so he's not old per se.
He's old league terms though, and games played.
14 years.
Yeah,
which is bananas.
And that's usually the time you see guys retiring, is after 13, 14 years in this league, especially as an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
We saw Jason Kelsey retire on Monday in that same time span.
Zone on the starting line chat line says, any tech runners at the World Indoor Championships? We will know on Friday. We'll talk to Chase on Friday morning, the track expert.
I don't know that
right tackle. Their right tackle has more false starts than anyone in the league in 20 years yet. Most penalties. I don't know if false starts was the full effect there. He certainly had a lot of holding penalties than otherwise.
Yeah, I don't believe that anybody on the tech track team will be at the Worlds because they'll all be competing at the national meet this weekend.
Now they don't have to listen on Friday, Carson. That's why I teased it to Friday to let Chase answer. Now nobody needs to tune in. Maybe there's some X-Tech athletes at the
there could be. Yeah, Chase will know that better than we will. Yeah. That's for sure.
That's why I was teasing it, man.
Well, I was just saying that the indoor meet is this week too. So
we're teasing, Carson. It's in the business terms of a tease. All right. I think Tyron Smith is a great signing for Kansas City. I think you can do a lot in the draft too.
Yeah.
But if you could get Tyron Smith and then be able to spend a first-round pick on a wide receiver, I think that's a lot more efficient than getting a first-round tackle at the back end of the draft and then trying to sign a productive wide receiver somewhere. If you could get, I don't know how much I love him in the NFL, but like a Xavier Worthy or a Keon Coleman at the
Xavier Worthy is who they want.
Now, Xavier Worthy ran the 4.21. I understand that. But he's 165 pounds soaking wet. And does that translate? I know Deshaun Jackson had a long career. I know if you're fast, you can do a lot of things, especially in an Andy Reid offense. They can figure out how to use him well. They're not just going to line him up as the one and make him beat guys on the outside. You can be a slot. You can be the outside. You can do a lot of things. You can be smart.
Worthy is Devontae Adams without the Devontae Adams catchability.
Devontae Adams is 6'2", 215.
Devontae Adams is not that tall.
6 foot.
He's 6 foot.
Devontae
Adams is not tall.
He's big though.
He's not. He's more stickish than he is built out.
No.
Yeah.
I would say Deshaun Jackson is he's 6'1", 215 on Wikipedia.
Yeah, 6'1", my butt.
Okay, even if he's 6 foot 210, that's still 40 more pounds than
Worthy will put on some weight. Worthy will put
He had
on some
3
weight.
years in Texas to do it.
They'll put on some weight in Kansas City.
I certainly think Xavier Worthy's an incredible athlete and did great things at Texas. But he also was like, I don't know. I think he has some diva potential with what he did every offseason, acting like he was going to leave Texas every year. Now he didn't. He stayed.
I mean, McCole Hardman's only 5'10".
Is he good?
I think Worthy's faster and better than him.
I think he's comparable. I think he's very comparable to me and Carl Hardman, which means I wouldn't take him in the first round.
I wouldn't take him in the first round, no. I don't think Xavier Worthy's a first-round guy.
I mean, Xavier Worthy in the fourth, the third.
I'd rather you take Jalen Polk if you're going to take someone in the first round. Roma Dunze, if he can drop down.
No, he's not dropping. Who's the second LSU wide receiver? I've seen him mocked to the Chiefs. Not Malik Neighbors, the other guy.
Not Neighbors. It's not Kayshon Boutte. He was last year.
No, he's already in the league.
Yeah, he's already in the league.
Devontae Adams. Come on, man.
That's what.
No. Deshaun Jackson, pro-com.
Deshaun Jackson's more fair, I guess. But I don't think Worthy's going to be a punt returner, kick returner. He might be.
I mean, anyone's better than Kadarius Toney. Any NFL level player. I don't think Kadarius Toney will be on the roster next year.
Well, and you already got, MVS is not signing, so.
That made me think of the combine last week. Some Texas Tech athletes did really well. Do you believe in space?
Yes.
Is that a yes or?
Yes, I do.
Dadrian Taylor Demerson, I'm assuming also believes in space. Before the combine, Carson, on the NFL mock draft database, they kind of it's like the bracket matrix. They can conglomerate a bunch of stuff together. Mm-hmm. I think there was one mock draft that had him drafted anywhere, period. Now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're all in the third or fourth round. There's 2 fourth-round draft mocks to the Bears, a 4th round to the Chargers, a 4th round to the Jets. I actually kind of want to see him go to that Jets secondary. I think he could be a really good piece there. Or the Packers, round 3.
Sauce Gardner, Dadrian Taylor Demerson.
Hey, the Jets secondary is really good.
Yeah.
Obviously, Tyler Owens was the space joke. I
think someone put him up to that, man. I really do. I think one of his buddies was like, hey, man, go say something off the wall at the combine just to get yourself a little bit more publicity. And he was like, man, I'm going to tell him I don't believe in space.
He also said, because I'm religious, and that got flown over, and he's like, those flat earthers saying a lot of good things. That it worked for Kyrie. Kyrie,
yeah,
became a huge star after he said he was a flat earther.
I'm telling you, that's why he's doing it.
Yeah. Oh, in Illinois, or somebody said birds aren't real either. Which maybe you're just trying to be divisive.
Trying to stand out. Trying to stand out.
I think maybe jumping the best broad jump ever and running the best 40 ever probably would have made him stand out more.
If you can't do those things, then say that space doesn't exist.
But he can't. He did. Except he pulled up on the 40, so he didn't get to run a good 40. Yeah. He was an inch behind Byron Jones as the best broad jump of all time at the combine. And then Miles Cole, they have a RAS score, which is relative athletic something. And Miles Cole was in the top 10 since 1987 in his position in that score. So you had some freaks at the combine. I think Dadrian Taylor Demerson helped himself the most because he's getting mocked the most. But before the draft, I would have said, or before the combine, I would have said Rabbit will probably get drafted 5th through 7th rounds just because I believe in him as a player and I think he did enough at the Senior Bowl. And then I think undrafted free agent for Miles Cole and Tyler Owens. They might all three get drafted now just because of measurables. And Taylor Demerson probably bumped himself up 3 rounds with a good combine after that Senior Bowl.
I agree. I think Taylor Demerson might be a 5th round guy now, more so than 6th or 7th.
He's getting mocked in the 3rd. I'm just saying.
I know, but I think
I would say
3rd is.
I would say 4th round is ceiling.
4th or 5th.
4th or 5th is going to be great.
Yeah, 4th or 5th. Either way, it doesn't matter. You get drafted, that's awesome. I think Miles Cole could be a round 7 guy that a team takes a chance on just because of his measurables.
Yeah.
You can't teach his length and his athleticism, his what he has on reach. So that's something that a team will take a chance on, especially if they have good defensive talent and they can teach this kid. Like the Las Vegas Raiders, he could go learn from Max Crosby. That'd be awesome for him.
He's got
and go play with his former teammate.
He's got a 5th round mock to the Niners, which you're describing. Red Raider defensive line coach there.
Yep, wouldn't mind having that as a possibility.
And then mocked 7th round to the Packers. There are 2 mock drafts that have him draftable.
And then I think Tyler Owens is an undrafted free agent. I think he'll get picked up by someone.
Do you know the name Matthew Slater?
No. Then I also think Malik Dunlap has a good chance to get picked up by a team after the draft too.
Matthew Slater is a potential Hall of Famer. Just retired with the Patriots. Played special teams his entire career. I don't know that he ever played anything else.
He's just a special teamer.
Tyler Owens could have a long career as a gunner and special teams weapon, blocking punts and kicks in the right system. If he can buy in and just say, I'm going to get paid to play football, but all I'm going to do is special teams, maybe some nickel, maybe a safety here and there when they need me. Cody Davis has done it for a decade now.
Zach McPherson's been doing it with the Eagles for the last couple of years.
For the Eagles, if he buys in, I think he can absolutely do that. He's athletic enough to really be a difference maker. And I'll say this: he's mocked in the 6th round 3 times post combine to the Bucks and twice to the Jets. So I really do think potentially you have 3 draft picks here, and then I think there are several other that can get undrafted looks. We'll see. I think there's always an offensive lineman or 2. I think you have 1 potential here in the draft, but you never know with Rusty Stats and Cole Spencer and a couple of those guys. Now the offensive line has not been great, but you've consistently put offensive linemen into the undrafted portal. And then current NFL news, the Colts.
Yeah, Jack Anderson, our guy.
Jack Anderson to an extension, our guy. I don't think we ever had him. I don't think we ever had him on the show.
No, but I've always DM'd and texted, and I sent him a message yesterday, said, hey, congrats on the new contract. Said, thanks, man. Appreciate it. He's a good dude. Good dude, that Jack Anderson.
I think the only time we ever talked to him as a show was complimenting his mustache at Texas Tech Media.
Well, we would just sit there and shoot the crap with him at Texas Tech.
2 or 3 years in a row, we complimented his mustache. It was honestly not a great mustache, kind of like my mustache.
It's a little bit like yours. Yeah, I was just about to say a little bit like yours. Yeah, it needs a little bit. I can't shave mine and just go straight mustache with the bald head. It doesn't look great.
You could.
It's not.
You said you can't. You could.
I could, but it's not a good.
Can we make a mustache bet somehow? I'll put something up. You'll put something up. We got a week on the mustache.
No, whenever I was, what was it? My last year in college, we went to the World Series, and everyone who could grow one had the mustache. Mine was on point, but I still had a lot of hair in those days, so it was thinning. Just had still had a lot.
All right. I think that's all I got. I will say we talked about it before the stream. Jersey Jerry from Barstool Sports last night made all of the shots that Caitlin Clark made in her career, +1. He broke her record. Of course, she's going to score 1,000 more points in the next couple of weeks. If they go deep in the tournament, I don't know if they will.
She may even come back and play next year. I don't know.
Well, she's played 4 years, yeah. I guess she has a COVID year.
She can get a COVID year. Yeah.
That's crazy. She probably makes way more money at Iowa. What if she came back and played at LSU? That would be so funny.
Well, I mean,
So funny.
oh, if she went to LSU.
Or somewhere else, South Carolina, UConn. That would be so funny. Anyways, he completed all of it. 509 3-pointers, 762 free throws, an assortment of mid-range jumpers. In 5.5 hours, and I asked you how long it would take you. You said way less than 5.5 hours. How many legitimate hours do you think it would take you to score that many points? Now it's unguarded. It's not the same athletic capacity as Caitlin Clark did it, but unguarded, in the gym, straight on threes, free throws.
Someone's rebounding for me.
Someone's rebounding for you. You got a rack of balls right beside you, and you get a rebounder.
If I got to hit how many 3-pointers? How many has she hit?
509.
However long it takes me to shoot 800 something threes. I think I could do it in that.
And free throws.
However that amount. Yeah, free throws. So it took him 5.5 hours to do all of that?
All of it together.
The free throws wouldn't take me long. I can knock down some free throws. Like, free throws are where I live.
Yeah.
The 3-ball would take a little bit, but once I got into a rhythm, I could probably knock down, 10, 15 in a row at times.
Are you saying like 3 hours, or you just think faster than 5.5?
Probably 4.5. I could say I could do it in less than an hour less.
We need to get this done.
I'm down. Where are we going?
I don't know. Somebody's going to have to sit there and count them all.
We can hit the EAC.
You cannot trust me. You cannot trust me to count them all. I will say this: Jersey Jerry has a terrible shot and did it in 5.5.
Yeah. The crazy thing is I actually shoot the ball better now than I ever did in my high school playing days.
Yeah. Ryan says live stream it.
Yeah.
If we do it, we can live stream it. Certainly.
Now we could throw. I mean, at LC we have the little, you shoot it and it comes in a little catch net and it shoots it back out at you.
Okay, we could just do that.
Yeah. Just hammer that down.
Just think about it.
Spring breaks next week. We can get in the gym.
Yeah, we can get in the gym. All right, that's all I got. What do you have? Final thoughts? That's a different podcast.
Fresh out of ideas.
All right. Look forward to the Carson Robinson stream. Caitlin Carson. Making
she's so good. She's so good. And here's the thing though, is you could never, like, the way she's done it, nobody else has ever done it. Like, and she beat Pistol Pete's record. And I heard some people, and they make good points of like, Pistol Pete never had a 3-point line. Think about how many points he would have had if he had a 3-point line. All of those things. But Caitlin Clark's shooting it from like the logo. She's pulling up from 6 feet behind the 3-point line. She's Steph Curry in these things. And Caitlin Clark is one of the best basketball players, don't care male or female, that we will ever see in this generation. She's just stupid good.
Yeah.
She's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like, she's got such a quick trigger. She can let it rip from anywhere. She's across half court, kids open. So Caitlin Clark is phenomenal. They're just nothing. I don't know that we'll ever see another women's player that's that good in the next 20 to 25 years.
Leah Chavez?
No.
She rips it.
She's
Man.
not that good.
She rips it. Offensively, she's good.
She's not tall enough. Caitlin Clark's the whole
How
thing.
tall is Caitlin Clark?
At least 5'10", right? 6 foot.
I can't believe you're not with the homegrown talent here.
Don't get me wrong. I think Aaliyah Chavez is a fantastic player, but she's going to have to do a lot to be compared to Caitlin Clark. Yeah, Caitlin Clark is 6 foot. Yeah, she's tall.
Wait, 155.
Yeah.
How tall is Aaliyah
Caitlin
Chavez?
Clark is.
I suppose.
Aaliyah is probably 5'8", 5'9". Look, Aaliyah Chavez is a fantastic player. She is great, and she puts in work.
Do you think
That
she'll
young lady puts in a
reclassify?
ton of work.
She'll
I
play
think
one
it would be smart for her to.
to reclassify.
Like, yeah, I think it'd be smart. What else does she have to prove at the high school level?
That's crazy. I
Like,
mean,
nothing.
yeah. When do you have to?
Aaliyah Chavez is.
When can you make that decision? Because I haven't heard any smoke around her reclassifying.
I haven't either.
Listed at 5'9", so she's probably 5'8".
Yeah.
But
5'8".
Caitlin Clark's probably 5'10". I
Caitlin
thought
Clark looks tall.
Aaliyah Chavez is at least as tall as me. I think she's got to be 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah, she's my height. When I stand next to her, she's about my height. Yeah, 5'8". She's been a good player since she was a little kid, though. We played against her whenever I coached my daughter's teams, and we triangle and two'd her and made it to where she couldn't score.
We'll see.
That's the only way you could beat. That's the only way you could beat Aaliyah Chavez was to
see,
triangle and two her and let everybody else on the team beat you.
We'll see where she goes.
She has her pick wherever she wants to go. She's a phenomenal player, man. She is a phenomenal player.
Yeah,
one that I don't know that we'll ever see again here on the South Plains. Like we said that she's put in the work.
With Jarrett
she's
Clark,
done all these,
and you really haven't seen anybody in the
Jarrett Culver,
Jarrett Culver, yeah. I hope she goes somewhere and is successful. I would prefer it to be at Texas Tech, but
yeah,
if she can classify, she'll certainly help Christy Gerlich's.
Now, if you've watched the Grayson Rigdon kid at Benjamin, just down the road a little ways, he's the nation's leading scorer. Now he's playing 1A basketball.
He played like 89 in one game.
Yeah, he scored 75 or whatever
it was 72 maybe.
I saw him up close and personal when he played Lubbock Christian. He scored 42. They still lost by 10. It's the only loss they've had on the season. Our alma mater beat them by 10. It was a lot worse than that, but they ended up scoring at the end. But he's a phenomenal player. But I think his future is on the football field too. So, yeah, he's really good. He gets buckets. He doesn't shoot it as well from the outside as I thought he would. But, hey, man, that kid is quick, flashy. He can dribble drive. He's really talented. Very, very talented. And not just on the basketball floor. Like he was at Strawn his freshman. He's won 3 straight state championships in 6-man football, which is hard in any division. I don't care where you're at. 6-man just as hard. But at Strawn his freshman year, because his older brother was there, and now 2 at Benjamin in the last 2 years. And he's got Benjamin basketball at the state tournament again this year. So,
and he is a Red Raider.
He's a junior. He's a junior. Yeah.
And a Red Raider target.
And a Red Raider target. Yeah, he's so athletic, and he's not tall, but he's athletic. Yeah, good athlete, fantastic player. So a lot of good talent here on the South Plains.
Yeah. Oh, there was one more thing I wanted to discuss. We're already an hour and a half in. Do you want to do one more thing, or you
sure? One big thing.
One big thing. I think that's somebody else that does that.
Scott Van Pelt.
Unprepared here. Let me go back and look. Oh, must have been here. I saved it to talk about. Where'd I save it? Nick Saban today talked about why he retired. He said these weren't contributing factors in the decision, but why bring them up if they're not? These are quotes. I'm going to read a quote. This is from Bleacher Report article for some reason. I didn't know Bleacher Report was still putting out articles. I thought The Athletic killed him. I thought we could have a hell of a team next year, and then maybe 70 or 80% of the players you talk to, all they want to know is two things. What assurances do you have that I'm going to play because they're thinking about transferring? And how much are you going to pay me? Our program here was always built on how much value we can create for your future and your personal development, academic success, and graduating and developing an NFL career on the field. So I'm saying to myself, maybe this doesn't work anymore. That the goals and aspirations are just different, and that it's all about how much money I can make as a college player. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that's never been what we're all about, and it's not why we had success through the years. Now, I will say this on behalf of Nick Saban. I think that Nick Saban is telling the truth in his own mind. I do think that for many years at Alabama, guys waited their turn. And recently, I mean, you had guys that absolutely broke out as juniors and seniors, especially defensively, and waited their turn. Now, you had a lot of freshmen and sophomores and juniors and seniors all playing together. Certainly, if you're good enough, you're playing. But there was a system in Alabama where you waited your turn, and you were fine with that, especially on the offensive line, I would say. But now, nobody wants to wait, and it's infiltrated Alabama, the last bastion for athletics, it seems, in college football, how people talk about college football. But agree or disagree with Nick Saban's comments, and agree or disagree that's why he retired or not retired.
I think a lot of it has to do with why he retired.
That's obvious, yeah.
Yeah, obvious. Because he's an old school, like comes from that. I think that's a lot of the reason why you saw Jim Boeheim and Mike Krzyzewski and all these other guys retire in the basketball world too. It's a lot of these kids because of NIL and the transfer portal and everything else. It's what can you give me? Where am I going to play? How much playing time am I going to get? You've promised me whenever you were in my house that I was going to play. Now I want that playing time and I want my money and I want this and I want that. And the coaches are like, you know what, man? I've had enough of this. I've made all my millions. I've got every single hand, every single finger plus one on my other hand for Nick Saban. I think he's got 5 national titles or 4, 6. I don't know how many he has. A lot.
One at LSU, 2 at LSU.
Yeah, one at LSU, one at LSU, 3 at Alabama, so 4
at least,
or 2 at Alabama. Yeah, so 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So Nick Saban doesn't need to do anything else. Like he's done it all. He doesn't need
$1 million a year the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, he doesn't need any of that. And so if he's sick and tired of all that crap and kids are coming to his office like, hey, coach, if I'm not starting, then I'm out, like, see ya. Or you can give me enough money to stay. Like that's not what a guy like a Nick Saban, he's not the kind of guy that's going to bend to the will of a 19-year-old child. Like that's just not what's going to happen. Nick Saban is going to tell that kid, you know what, bud, you're probably not going to start. Why don't you get the heck out? And we're not giving you any money either. Like that's what Nick Saban would do.
He told an LSU kid at the 50-yard line that transferred from Alabama to LSU after a game this season, hey, you would have played more if you stayed here.
Yep.
Nick Saban's, this is just an estimate, but this is after he retired. Somebody tweeted this out. Nick Saban's net worth is currently $93.2 million.
I mean, Affleck's paying him a bunch.
$327,000 per win over his 27-year career. Saban makes about $5 million a year from endorsements from Aflac and Coca-Cola. So he's still making $5 million a year, I'm assuming, in his retirement. If he's still
And ESPN or NBC, CBS, whoever it is going to pay Nick Saban millions of dollars to be on TV with them
I
too.
think he's already joined College Game Day. Maybe he's
yeah. I mean, he's going to be on ESPN, the SEC Network, College Game Day, whatever.
So he's making money still. But I just want to say this: $327,000 a game, a win, not a game, a win. That seems like a pretty good NIL deal, huh?
Yeah.
But it's inappropriate for a player to want to better his financial situation. Nobody's blinking an eye at Kalen DeBoer, except Washington fans, for leaving Washington for a better opportunity. But Nick Saban's retiring because a bunch of players are now looking for better opportunities. Now, I agree. It's a little out. It's outrageous. It is, and how quickly it's come upon us has been tough to deal with. But I always go back to coaches versus players, and these coaches who make $10 million a year, Dabo and the like, are the most upset that players want to make money. It just is funny to me.
Look, I think players should get paid. Let me put that out front. I think players should get paid. I think that they're worth every single dime that they get paid too. Now, I do think that there's got to be some sort of regulation behind all of this. Like, because a kid can go into Alabama now in recruiting and say, well, because now the kids have the
poor Alabama
in their court.
Poor Alabama that they have to deal with that with the rest of the country now.
They can go in there and say, Texas. I went to Texas last week on a visit.
Texas.
And the Ford dealerships in Austin told me they'd pay me $2 million to drive their trucks and give me a free truck. I want $2.5 million if I'm going to come to Alabama. Like that's where it becomes like a kid is trying to get to, like, at what point do you just go play football at the place that's the best fit for you? If you're a great player, you're going to get the NIL deals.
Let me ask you this. Let's say payments start going through schools and it's regulated. Okay. Let's just say that happens. If Nick Saban's still around, who coaches for the love of the game, right? Not for money, for the love of the game.
A little bit of money.
Would he forfeit half his salary to go to his team? Would he say, all right, I'm not going to take $10 million this year. I want the best team. I'm going to give $5 million to the NIL and only coach for $5 million this year. Is he going to do that?
He should, but
hell no.
I don't know that he would.
Hell no, he's not going to do that. He's there for money, just like everybody else. So I missed me with it. Do I think some of what he's saying is right? Yes. Do I feel badly for Nick Saban? No.
I don't know that it's so much the NIL stuff that bothers him. I think it's more of the transfer portal. Like you're not starting.
Right.
You're not going to go. If you're not starting in Alabama your freshman year.
But if you're not starting and getting in playing time, you're not getting paid. I think it all goes down to getting paid.
That's fair.
But
if everything runs through collectives, like it's what I think that the NIL stuff should be. Like the collective should get the sponsorship to that. And if a Ford dealer, a dealership wants to sponsor a certain, the team, then that goes into the collective and that gets dispersed throughout the team. And then you can allow the best players on the team, they should be allowed to get some endorsement deals from a Dr. Pepper or somebody like that.
Yeah, but that's not Alabama doing it. That's free market, and that's
no, I know that's free market. Yeah, and so I think that's a different conversation.
They want guarantee. Right. They want to be unionized, but they don't want to get a union because that would be bad for business.
Well, and then they'd have to pay taxes and all.
Hey, Johnny Manziel tweeted the other day. There's one more thing. This is the second last thing.
He's also not going to Reggie Bush's Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, I thought that was stupid. That's not what I'm worried about.
I know. I just thought about that when you said that. I don't even know why they're having that for Reggie Bush. Like he already went and got a Heisman Trophy. He was there. He won. He gave his speech.
What are they doing for Reggie? A separate thing?
They're having a ceremony for him to get his Heisman Trophy back.
When?
I have no idea.
Because Johnny said he wasn't going to go to the real one until they did?
No, they had. I guess they already had it or something. They were doing another ceremony to give Reggie Bush his Heisman Trophy back.
Who's they?
The Heisman Trust.
When did this happen yesterday?
No, this is like last week during the Tech basketball game on the weekend that I saw it scroll across the bottom on the lead
No.
on ESPN.
No, Johnny Manziel said he wasn't going to the Heisman Trophy presentation until they gave it back to Reggie Bush. I don't think they've scheduled a thing to give it back to him already.
I thought they did.
Oh, maybe so. Maybe Johnny Manziel's that big of a deal. If I was a Heisman Trust, I would say, okay, Johnny, well, who cares?
Oh, maybe that's what it is. That's what it was. Yeah.
No, Johnny said he wasn't going to show up until they
give it back to Reggie Bush.
And they're not going to do that.
No.
Or they might, but not because
See, that's what confused me. The wording on the ESPN ticker is what confused me.
Yeah, no,
it was like Manziel says he won't show up to Bush's Heisman Trophy. Won't show up to Heisman Trophy ceremony for Reggie Bush. For Reggie Bush, meaning in solidarity with Reggie Bush. Yeah, now it makes more sense.
No, this is what I keyed in on. Johnny Manziel says, have big news coming to Aggieland. Something I feel is going to change the town for the better. Northgate will never be the same after this. Yesterday at 9:30 a.m. Well, then later that day, or maybe this morning, Hurricane Harry's in College Station says, Dear Aggieland, our staff has been informed that there will be a redevelopment on the property that Hurricane Harry sits on in early 2025. Now, I don't know if Hurricane Harry's is at Northgate, but would you go to Manziel's Bar and Grill in College Station? Does the bathroom come with glass on the counter to do pumps of cocaine? Are there old credit cards?
Give you rolled dollar bills. They give you rolled dollar bills as part of your it's
a metal straw but printed as a dollar bill. Oh, dude, the plastic straws for drinks really should be printed as dollar bills. That would be hilarious.
This is falling apart.
And you can only order Coke. No Dr. Pepper, just Coke. Coke and Diet Coke.
We only serve Coke products.
The waiters are all dressed as Scooby-Doo. Manziel's, man, it's gonna be a trip. It's gonna be a trip.
Oh man.
Every shot.
Oh man. That I needed that today, Rob.
I would go to Manziel's. I would.
Ron Washington would go there too.
Hey, speaking of Ron.
Josh Hamilton, Ron Washington. No. Get the gang back together.
Maybe Hamilton could be his hitting coach in Los Angeles.
Oh, man. Oh.
I love it, man. I love it. Scooby-Doo waitresses, Coke, plastic dollar bill straws.
Bring in John Travolta and Sam Jackson's characters from Pulp Fiction.
Sure. Why not? All right. Manziel's Bar and Grill coming soon, 2025. Man. I'm going to go look up Hurricane Harry's and see if it's in the Northgate development.
Hurricane Harry's is like a really well-known place, yeah? Like that's where the Ags go. Yeah.
Apparently it's a concert venue.
Right. Yeah.
It says it's in Highland Park, not North Park. That might be the same thing. I've been through College Station. I've never been. Oh no, Hurricane Harry's, Northgate, Highland Park.
Yep.
It's got to be it. Oh, that's right by A&M.
Yeah, Hurricane Harry's is a little bit like Wild West.
He bought out Hurricane Harry's. That's got to be it.
Fair enough.
Wild
so no more dance floor at Hurricane Harry's. I haven't been to College Station in a minute.
Child West? Why is it's got a dance floor? Oh, it's got a dance floor, yeah.
Yeah, dance floor.
That looks pretty cool.
It's like a honky tonk.
Good atmosphere, good prices for drinks. Oh, it's country western dance bar. Yeah, it'll stay the same. Manziel's. Why would they take away the dance floor with Manziel's, man? He loves the dance floor.
Good point. Yeah, good point.
And he'll be there, man. He'll be there all the time. People will come and see him. He'll sign autographs. He'll be the hostess.
Doesn't he live in Vegas right now, though?
Oh, yeah, but if Johnny Manziel has Manziel's Bar and Grill, he'll be at Manziel's, man. Drinking for free.
I think he's sober now.
Yeah, well, he's probably Los Angeles sober. Isn't that what they call it?
Yeah.
Quit the hard stuff.
Oh, man.
Who sings that song? LA Sober.
We're off the rails.
Isn't that the...
We're off the rails.
I feel like that's a song, but I don't think I'm saying it right.
I don't think that's a song.
I
mean, California sober is a term.
That's got to be it. California sober.
To abstinence from all drugs with the exception of marijuana.
Yeah, that's the joke. It's Billy Strings and Willie Nelson, California sober.
California sober, yeah. Well, that makes sense now that Willie Nelson sings it.
Yeah. I didn't know that was Billy Strings. I love that song. You a Billy Strings guy?
I mean, I dabble.
Do you know who Billy Strings is?
I mean, just because of him singing a couple songs with other people, yes.
He's good. You gotta listen to him.
I'll put him on my Spotify playlist.
You're gonna say that's a banger next time you come on. California sober, man.
The dude just looks like a hippie. So
yeah, he is.
He's definitely a hippie.
But he could shred the guitar, man. You don't get a name like Billy Strings.
You don't get a name Billy Strings if you can't play the guitar. If you rename yourself, because I'll guarantee you that's not his given name.
That's not
actually born William Lee Apostle.
Yeah.
October 3rd. He's a day and 4 years younger than me.
Huh.
Yeah, he's definitely a kid that was born in the 90s, but
he's an old soul.
Definitely a 70s kid.
Yeah. Old soul. All right, let's get out of here before any more cocaine jokes.
No more bumper crops.
Yeah. All right. See you Friday. Friday morning, 8 a.m. It'll be Friday breakfast. We usually do Friday lunch.
I'm not here.
Friday breakfast.
If I'm not here, have fun.
I'll bring the coffee.
Peace.